everyone. Welcome to Two Good Sports. Won't be too long till we're back together doing this, Greggy, and now I was going to say studio, but what we call a studio. How are you, mate?
Good, very good, mate. Yeah, I think I reckon about 2 weeks. I reckon we'll be right to go into the studio, or our studio.
Let's hope, some great games on the weekend. Couple of controversies, couple of blowouts. Let's just start with the biggest blowout of the lot. My beloved Broncos. I think they were always up against the Roosters. Their form going into it, the Broncos wasn't good against the Eels, and of course the Roosters had a great win the week before. They looked like they were all getting it back together. But I didn't predict this 59-0. I don't think too many people would have. And at the end, I was pretty grateful that it didn't get to the point of 70, 80-0, really.
Yeah, I mean, Seabold, he waxed lyricals after the game. A couple of days later, they didn't say much after the game at all. It was interesting. The Broncos website, I got told they were putting up how many games the players had played for both Roosters versus the Broncos during the game. So they're looking it looked like Broncos never do that. They're looking for excuses during the game. So this many games played by this player and this many by that player. Found that very interesting that the Broncos website was putting that sort of statistics up during the game. And I've been followed through with some of the discussions by the players. At the end of the day, Seabold let those blokes go. Josh Maguire's, McCulloch's, Kahu, he let them go.
Yeah. Look, I guess it was a false dawn. They won a couple of games, didn't they, when they came back, and they looked promising against Souths and the Cowboys. The rule changed. Some people have gone out and said, look, the 6 again and so forth. That affects everyone. So that's being a bad sport coming out and using that. Seabold does have that more structured wrestling sort of approach, I guess, than some of the other free-flowing coaches out there. They're going to cop a couple of buildings this year with a young side. I think it was a couple of they didn't front the media, which was disappointing after the game. I guess it's pretty hard to at times. A number of supporters have come out and said looked like a lot of the Broncos were had smiles on their face and they didn't seem too disturbed after the game.
They're upset.
I don't know about that. I was going to say
they're always upset.
When you see them with a what you could call a smile on their face, they're probably up. Someone they played representative football with, or someone they played junior football with. So they can't. And if they do go and sook it, they cop it there too. So
you can't.
That's the Broncos. They've got a bit of work to do. They do have troops returning, and look, who knows what's around the corner. But look, if they come out and give another display like that this week, we'll talk about the games later on. Well, then it's absolutely smash the emergency.
Stags is a big in. I like Stags, good player.
Yeah,
got a couple of big ins coming. They've got a couple of ins coming. They'll be right. They'll be still in the 8, I reckon, in the end of the year. I predict them in the 8 for sure. Anyway, there was some other there were other teams that didn't look great on the weekend too.
Well, look, let's talk about the Eels. That was the one that you brought up, Greggy. That was a pretty good game against two really good sides. It was a shame that it's been marred with controversy with the forward pass. Do you want to? I did. Through your perspective.
Yeah, I watched the game. I might be talking from the dollar I backed Manly. I thought it was a try every day of the week. It floated backwards. In saying that, Parramatta were the better side overall, if you ask me. I thought they were the better side on the night. But, Manly were robbed at the end. And then the end result was 19-16. It was probably a true reflection of the game, the result. So Parramatta just keep digging in, don't they? They're doing more than what I thought. Still reckon there's something. I'm still not 100% sold on them, but I'm about 95% sold on them after that. And you wouldn't throw your ticket away if you back Manly in the premiership either, I reckon, Steve.
No, I agree. When you look at the blokes who've come back this week, and again we'll talk about them later on, when you're dropping guys like Brad Takarangi from the 17, who's been really great for them. They've got some good depth there, some great kids. I'm really a fan of their 5'8", Dylan Brown. Their halves are working really well together. They've got a really good back row, haven't they? That back three there with Nathan Brown, Ryan Madison and Sean Lane. I don't know. I think they're going to be thereabouts, Greg. I think it's going to be a good side to knock them over. If you beat Parramatta, unless they have an off day, you've done well.
Yeah. Let's
talk about a side that's done well this weekend, or the weekend just gone, and their first time they've sung their victory song in 364 days, I think.
Yep.
Titans. mate, good on them. When they were down 12-0, I thought, oh, geez, here we go. And then they obviously caught up again, and the Tigers skipped out again. And then I thought, here we go. And I think most people did. And then again, they caught up, and Benji kicked the field goal. The thing with losing, I think it becomes habitual. After a while, it's just second nature, like winning, I suppose. So that's what they fell into that trap for a year or so. So hopefully this is the start of them saving a bit of face and finishing a bit further up the ladder than they have in the previous couple of years.
Yeah, no, that was a good win. I think you've said it all. Yeah, that's fine. Let's look at the other thing from the weekend was the Dragons' demise against Canterbury. Canterbury turned up. The Dragons turned up for 15 minutes and then they gave up. What's your thoughts?
It's I've been listening to a few podcasts and different people on the radio sats and a few others through the week, and it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because the name Ben Hunt comes up quite prominently, and
I think it deserves to now. I was supporting Ben Hunt, but he had no idea. He got tackled again on the 6 tackle like last game. He threw a couple of interceptions. At least he's trying something, but there's not enough variety there. It's just 5 hit-ups and a bomb. I've had people telling me all week, they're going, it shouldn't be the coach. The coach is the one that structures their attack, and their attack has nothing. And the opposition are able to do what they want in attack because they know that the Dragons don't offer anything in attack. That's why the opposition, again, Canterbury had held 23 out of 24. They only dropped the ball once in the second half. Because you can play like that against the Dragons. You don't need to take big risks. Sooner or later, they'll fall apart. And it just keeps going around and around. The same thing happens every week. They're abysmal. And McGregor has to go. And Hunt has to go.
McGregor, why are you speaking about McGregor? Obviously, you would have seen the interviews after the game. I thought he handled it well, as anyone could have. Obviously, he's very invested in the Dragons. He played with them. He's been there a long time. He's not doing this, to spite anyone. He's hurting, and they're hurting more than anyone. I'll ask you as a fan, probably the biggest Dragons fan in the world. How do you possibly? Firstly, how's the general Red V feeling? And secondly, how do you dig yourself out of this?
There's talk of them protesting out the front of the ground this weekend. They've written a lot of letters already to the CEO because he's just been non-seen, Ryan. We're unseen, and he's a CEO. The Gordon family own the 50%. They don't want to get rid of McGregor at the moment. It's a joke. The whole place is a joke at the moment from board down. The players are a joke. They're paid big dollars and they're not doing anything. There's no confidence there, but they don't throw the ball around until there's 15 minutes to go in the game. They look 10 times better when they threw it around with 15 minutes to go, but the first 65 minutes is just structure after structure after structure. That's the coach. That is 100% the coach, and it's also halves with no confidence. That's who you blame, the coach and the calves. The coach should go and the halves need to go.
McGregor came out and said he's got, when he was asked the question, I think he was probably rightly so offended when he was asked, does he have the support of the players behind him? I guess, look, some of those players don't have the right at the moment, the way they're playing, to say, no, we don't have the support of him. He's not out there making the tackles and passing the ball either, is he? I guess you're right with his structure and his coaching. And sometimes it's
6
people
years,
just need to move on. Coaches need to move on, don't they?
6 years. When do you get rid of a coach then? If you don't get rid of McGregor now, then you'd never get rid of any coach because they're at the bottom of the ladder. They're losing to sides that aren't even in the 8. Like, when do you get rid of a coach if you don't get rid of him?
Yeah.
Like, at some stage you come on a, you have to move on.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect time to move on.
Greg, while I think of it too, look, it was you wrote the article this week for Too Good Sports. If you haven't read it, guys, go to togoodsports.net. It's a very fairly written article, and it's a pretty insightful one about Paul McGregor, his tenure at the Dragons, from a player to a coach, his record. It's very, as I said, it's very fair. It's not coming from the eyes of a one-eyed dragon, and it gives you a bit of a viewpoint of both sides of the story there. Greggy, that's about us for our wrap-up of the games this week.
Yeah.
From the week that was gone. We're going to round 5. There's for some teams, there's more questions to be answered, I guess, as we go into it. There's been a bit of hope for some. There's Some have got a ton of homework to do. Look, it was good. Just like the last one from me, it was great to see Newcastle. They're up and comers. I don't know how long it's going to last or whatever, but they brought their game. They believe in themselves. They've got a young side that, with some great, older heads and some good representative players. They look like a, good, happy, positive team at the moment, don't they?
Yeah, we'll talk about them. I think, they're playing the Storm, so we'll get into that a bit, I think, there, I reckon.
Yep. But anyway, that's us, Greggy. Look, round 5 coming up, and looking forward to that, and hopefully not too far away that we can, start getting to a few games out and about. Yeah,
definitely.
All right, mate. As we start off, the besieged Broncos, they're up against the Manly. Manly will be a bit ticked off with not winning last week with that controversial game against Parramatta. The Eagles were $1.21, Greggy. Broncos are $4.45. Thoughts?
It'll be closer than what most people think, in my opinion.
Let's hope so.
Teams who usually lose 59-0 or 40-0, the next week they don't tend to win, but they tend to be very competitive. I reckon it'll be something like 24-16 to the Seagulls.
Yep.
That's my prediction. I think it'll be a close game. I think Seagulls will win. Manly they've been pretty good with even losing to Parramatta last week. They were good.
Yep.
I think they'll win, but I don't think it'll be huge. 8 points to me. What about you?
Yeah, I'm tipping Manly. I think 12, 14 points. I think it's going to be a rebuilding phase for the Broncos. They do have some troops coming back. They've got a couple this week.
Ben Teo.
Yeah, Ben Teo. I think it's been 2,000-something days since he's played NRL, I believe. Is that right? Something like that I read today. Look, he's back. They've made a few structural changes. Corey Oates is is playing second row. He did start as a young second row when he came in. Tony Staggs is back. Alex Glenn, I believe, is back as well after that badly lacerated leg. So a little bit of experience there. So the troops are slowly coming back. Darius Boyd held his position. I'm not jumping on the Darius Boyd bandwagon, but I thought they may have made the changes with him as well.
Oh, yeah. He was like a turnstile on the weekend, mate.
I think we talked about it a little while ago, and I think it's a bit, at times some clubs put in a person in a position and they say, go and jump in there when they haven't. Now, in Darius's case, they started playing him in the centres when he was 32, 33 years old and grossly out of form. So it's not fair to him.
No. I agree with you 100%. And when I'm saying it's his turn to go, I don't think it's the club's decision. It's not because he doesn't try. We all know he tries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's only so many games in season 2. Let's go to the next game. The Warriors were really disappointing after a good win the week before against the Dragons. Cowboys, the first 20 minutes they were poor, weren't they, mate? They never really caught up against Sharks.
Cowboys looked a lot like last year. They were rudderless at times.
Mm.
Yeah, I wasn't sold on them. Is Big JT back?
He's named on the extended bench, Greggy. They've made a few changes. The Cowboys. What's that? Sorry.
Cohen Hess.
Cohen Hess is back. And Reece Robson's been promoted to the starting 9.
They'll win.
And they brought in another young 20-year-old hooker, local boy up there. His name escapes me at the moment, but look, the big things for him. They've also brought in the young kid too, and from early this year, the guy who was the leading try scorer in the Nines, the young local product from up there. I think he's only just turned 18. I'm pretty sure he's a 2002 boy. So they have big raps on this kid anyway. So they brought him in. They've made a few changes here and there. Ben Hampton's been sacked. Look, to Ben Hampton's credit, when he came along, he was a 5'8". He's not a tall guy. He's not particularly quick.
Yeah. Well, we got Reuben Cotter. Reuben Cotter. Yeah, that's him.
That's the one. Yeah.
Cooper on the bench. Yeah, I'm just looking at their side now. It looks reasonably strong. They brought in the young fella on the wing. Yeah, it's strong. And with Cohen Hess back and Reece Robson starting, and if Tamalolo plays, they win that game, in my opinion. What about you?
Yeah, look, I'm taking the Cowboys. I really admire what the Warriors are doing, but it's just difficult to back the Warriors generally, and especially with what they're going through at the moment, and after being, really towed last week against the Panthers. So, I think the Cowboys, if they can get it on, especially if Tamalolo plays, I think they should win pretty convincingly. I think probably 8 to 12 points.
Yeah, I'm with you. about the same for me.
Battle of the West out here, Greggy.
Good game.
Eels and the Panthers.
Yeah, good game. The Panthers are growing a little bit on me this week. I thought they toughed it out pretty well against the Warriors. The Warriors weren't horrible. I thought the Panthers were pretty good. Those young blokes are just starting to get the right age. I don't think they can win it this year. In fact, I still have them, that round the bottom 8. But I still reckon they're 10th or 11th. But next year, I reckon they'll be the real deal. Kurt Capewell another year and all that. And that Mark Burton, he 5'8". It's either put him on the bench. I would have been tempted to start him. He was great.
Yeah. No, I agree. They've got some good kids coming through, haven't they? But I'm with you. I think the Eels.
I think the Eels win, yeah.
Are the real deal. And but you know what? Like Canberra last week, this is a similar game, Greggy, I think, to the Canberra-Newcastle game. Penrith are about the same sort of position at the moment where Newcastle are. They've got a lot of kids that they're bringing in now. As Newcastle bring in Tex Hoy and Best and a few of those guys. Panthers are the same, and a high flyer like the Eels, they're probably ready for, if they go in complacent, which I don't think they're going to do, they could lose this one. But I'm taking the Eels by about 6 to 10
the
points. The
blokes that both sides leave out, you're talking to me this about off the air. Both sides, they're 18, 19, 20, 21 would be in the top 17 for any other club when you look at them. Mitch Kenny, I like him a lot. Billy Burns, Jack Hetherington, Dylan Edwards is 21.
Yeah.
Brad Tangarangi, George Jennings, Will Smith for Parramatta. To me, this is a big test for Brad Arthur because the coaches earn their money when their team's flying, and then it's like Maguire when Tigers fell apart a bit last game, and Ricky Stewart. He's got to look at Canberra falling, not falling. But, they got beaten by a good side, Newcastle. But he's got to look at this and Brad Arthur and make sure there's no complacency. That's where he earns his money this weekend. And I think they'll win. Yeah.
It'll be a good game, this one. I'm looking forward to it. As will this one, the Rabbitohs and the Titans. The Rabbitohs are $1.25. Now, I'm going to have a lash at the Titans. They're $3.90 this week. I'll take them with a start. I think they'll be buoyed by that win. West Tigers were really good the week before against the Sharks. The Rabbitohs haven't been convincing this year, but have they?
No, they haven't. But the front row for the Titans, very good.
Yeah.
Aaron Clark, I like him as a hooker.
Yep.
Patuka, we already rate him. You look at, I'm just having a look at the sides. Now, Cody Walker's back for South, so I reckon that's a big in.
That's handy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm keen on South here. I reckon they'll win by about 10. What about yourself?
Look, Ash Carla really impressed last week, I thought. Yeah. And I hope I think he's a confidence player. And he did a lot of good things. He had an intercept against him, and I was just hoping he didn't, drop his bundle, and he came back and went well. Look, I really like what Justin Holbrook's doing with this side. A lot of us can't see it at the moment, but he's making some big decisions. He's dropping, probably some of the only representative forwards he's got there. Shannon Boyd, Wallace played for Queensland last year. And he's letting them know that that sort of standard is not acceptable. Some of the young kids are stepping up, like you mentioned with Futuaka and some of those guys. Look, I think the Rabbitohs will win, but I think it's going to be a really tight one. I would imagine it'll be about 2 to 6 points this week.
Yeah, I'm going Rabbitohs by 10. I see Roberts is named on an extended bench. Tyron Roberts. Peach 17, young. Tuna Mapia, he's playing. He's good. 2 years out, he was good.
Yeah, mate.
He was
Looks
really
like he's been
good.
out for about 2 days, hasn't he?
Oh, he was really good. Oh, it's a great little bonus for the Titans, him, I reckon. But yeah, I think Rabbitohs by 10.
Yeah. Look, Craig Bellamy said he did not want to lose him when he went to his mission. He's a good person more than but he can play. Anyway, let's go to the next game. The Knights and the Storm, the young up-and-coming Knights. And I guess you could possibly say the Storm, the last couple of years, they're not on the decline, but I guess, they've lost some great players over the years. They're going to lose a couple more this year, aren't they? They're wingers. I think their great glory days may be behind them a touch, but this year they're a big show. What do you think?
You've nailed it. I think they've just got this last year in them to be a threat, and then after that, they'll be rebuilding first time in about 15 years.
Yeah.
Olam's good. The Papua New Guinea, Justin Olam. I thought he's been playing really, really strongly.
He has. Yeah.
Brenko Lee doesn't sell me in the centres there. Bradman Best, I reckon, might have his number. It'll be interesting. You look across the board and it reeks of a win tonight, but I'm going to go for the Storm by 2 points. I just think the Storm don't lose. You know, they won last. I just think the Storm have just got enough in them to get this one. 2 points. What do you reckon?
They still show us where the Knights are. They've been great. They're undefeated because they had that draw as well. If they can come out and knock off a real heavyweight like the Melbourne Storm, they've made a definite, line in the sand, haven't they? But you mentioned Bradman Best. He's 18 years old, hasn't he? Got a future in front of him, and he does look like he's been playing for years. Nothing seems to faze him. He's a big body. But I think the Storm too, mate. I don't think we've been separated in our picks yet. But I would imagine the Storm will probably put them back in their place a little bit this week. Not too badly, but I think probably about 8 to 12 points, I think, the Storm themselves.
Interesting number 20 for the Storm. Cooper Johns. Very interesting. Son of Matt.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah, well, Jerome Hughes is injured. So Riley Jacks is back from the Titans, I believe.
Rightio.
All right, West Tigers. Easy to say disappointing. They were disappointing, I guess, from a Tigers perspective. The Titans were very impressive, considering the standards that they've been playing at the last year. The Tigers are $3.09 against the Raiders, $1.38. I thought the Tigers would have blown out a little bit more. There's been a few guys dropped from this Tigers team. The biggest one of the lot, Greggy, was Benji Marshall. I can't believe that.
Marshall. There's something going. There's something not right when he's getting dropped. I don't agree with that. He's coming third in the Daily M's after 4 rounds. In other words, he's probably got man of the match twice, if not second best player on the paddock, and you're dropping him. You'd never see McGregor take that risk. Maguire's taking a huge one here.
Look, unless there's something they're not announcing, Greggy, but I've checked all the sites today, and I'm pretty sure that he's just been dropped. I can't see any mention of injury. All the other guys that we've looked at, it'll come up with injury and it'll explain their injury, but with him, nothing. So I
don't think it's the right decision. I don't think Corey Thompson and him, I don't think it's right. I think Raiders could run away with this. 14 points, Raiders.
Yeah, me too. I think, I think after the game against Cronulla, I keep harping about that. They could have, Maguire could have gave him one more chance and said, look, a couple of blokes are on thin ice. He's really just brought in the changes. I think there's about 5-6 changes to that team from last week. A couple of old heads are back, like Packer. He's really made a point that won't be accepted. But I think, the Raiders, Ricky Stewart would have been ropeable with their performance last week. He told the media so, and they would have been flogged all week. So they'll be walking back if they don't get that win up. I imagine the Raiders. So I'm with you. I think the Raiders by 10 to 16 points. Bulldogs and the Roosters, very good rivals in the early 2000s, weren't they? And before that as well. The Bulldogs are $6.50, biggest odds of the week. The Roosters are $1.11.
Yeah, that's right. I reckon that's right.
Yep.
The Bulldogs, they played nobody last weekend, basically. They performed, they did what they could, they won. That's all they can do. Kieran Foran's a huge interim. He's 10 points for them. But they need 40 points. So about 30 short against the Roosters. And they bring back James Tedesco. Remember him? Yeah, he comes back in. He's
pretty handy, yeah. He made his way into the side, did he? He's not on the extended page.
Yeah. So
I'm going Roosters by about 24 points, I think, in this one.
Yeah.
But the Bulldogs, they had a good win, regardless of who they played and whatever. They're off the duck. They'll go in with some confidence. Foran was great, wasn't he? I agree with you. He was buggered, wasn't he? He looked like he hadn't played in a long time, but he's got a good football brain.
Almost had a control of the game even when he looked buggered. Adam Elliott was good. You look at the Roosters, but that number 17, Lindsay Collins, he'd be starting for every other side, I reckon. Every other side.
Yeah. Now he played against a pretty poor forward pack and made meters that he wouldn't have made against good side, but he was good. And I think his name will come up with Origin contention at the end of the year. Queensland don't have a lot of big front rowers who are almost 2 metres tall, so he might be up a chance.
Yeah, I reckon he should be.
Reggie, we go to the Dragons and the Sharks. Like I posted last week for my for the Broncos, on our side, I said, look, I put a GIF in of the only way is up. I guess you blokes are pretty much the same here.
Yeah. I'm having a look at the sides again. I've already seen the Dragons. I see Matt Duffy's made it to the bench, number 17. I don't know. Like, if you play Duffy, why do you play him 17? You either start him or you don't start him. He's made one or two basic changes. As we know, there's a few injuries there with Sims and Willeme. So Aiken comes back in. But I look at the side and it just doesn't reek of points to me. He's not giving young kids a go. No Jason Saab, no Tristan Saylor. I'd be giving them a go. None of the guys, they haven't scored a try in 2 weeks and he still hasn't made changes to the back line. He's left blokes in there that don't know how to score a try.
Can I just confirm with you, they're not injured, Greg? Those blokes aren't injured. You mentioned, mate. Saab and Saylor, are they injured?
I don't think Saylor is. Jason Saab he was carrying a little injury, but I'm pretty sure he's right now. I think he's available. I just look at it and I go, well, he was named number 20, Jason Saab, which is interesting. They've named him number 20. You may yet find that he plays, but I'd be playing him. So he's not injured. He's named 20. Tristan Saylor's not injured as far as I know. Corey Norman, fullback. Why? You look at the Sharks, they've got Fafita back, they've got Townsend back.
Yeah, and they had a good win against the disappointing Cowboys. Yeah. So what are you thinking here, mate?
I never ever back the Sharks against the Dragon. I'll continue that tradition. Dragons by 1. You know who I really think, but I'm going to say Dragons by 1 with confidence.
Yep. I can't take you at the moment, but I think it's going to be like we talked about with the Broncos. Obviously, you guys weren't beaten 59-0. The Dragons weren't beaten 59-0. I think the Sharks, and it'll be a much improved performance by the Dragons, but I'm going. These are good clashes. Both sides don't like each other, do they? I'm thinking, 6 to 10 points. The Sharks, with those inclusions they've got this week, Greggy, with Townsend and Fafita, you said.
Yeah, Fafita's back, Townsend's back.
So yeah, and it's a pretty good looking forward pack. Toby Rudolph impressed me last week. He's had a couple of great games. I think he won the grand final in the Intrust Cup for Redcliffe a couple of years ago. Got the player of the year.
He's on the bench.
He's been bumped to the reserves, so they're a pretty strong forward pack, especially with Fafita come back.
Yeah, they look good. Who's your lock of the week? I think we've gone a bit over time. He's into us. You got a lock of the week there?
Yeah, for me, look, I'm not going to go the obvious one with the Roosters and Canterbury, but I'm taking the Cowboys against the Warriors. I think with the troops they've got coming back, I'm going to take.
That's
them.
my lock of the week too. I'm with you. It shows we don't.
Well,
we're allowed to do that. That's your lock of the week. I think Cowboys.
Yeah, why not?
I think they're a lock. I think they'll win.
Mate, before we go really quickly, what's your smoky? If you just had to pick one smoky.
I know you'll go Titans. I won't go them. If I was to say a smoky, it'd be Knights against Storm.
All right, and you picked mine. Yeah, it's the Titans against the Rabbitohs. So I hope they come and prove me right. All right, that's us, Greggy, and let's hope another good round of footy. It's great to see a couple of shocks here and there. Keeps it interesting, I suppose. Not that it's not interesting. Fingers crossed our sides go a little bit better than they have been in the last couple of weeks.
Yep, definitely.
I'm sure the missus in the background.
Good luck to everyone.
Head. Yeah. All right, mate. Always good. Speak to you soon, buddy.
Okay, to the corner.